Hi everyone, today we want to go through the law of torts. So this is just for learning purpose for university, so it's not for actual life events to be used in terms of the law of torts. So let's get to it. So today we want to go through an example here. The example is so there's a company called All About Animals. It's a pet store in Melbourne. Business philosophy is based on the ethical treatment of animals, and it focuses on finding new homes for abandoned pets. All About Animals operates from large premises and consistently with its business philosophy. He allows some kinds of animals to roam or fly freely throughout the store, including dogs, cats, and birds. In September 2017, um, Angus visits All About Animals at about 11 a.m. To deliver a crate of dog food. Angus works for Happy Hounds, a business supplying pet food to All About Animals. While in the store, Angus slips over a puddle of water, badly injuring his leg. He requires medical treatment and is unable to work for 2 months, and as a result, incurs medical expenses and a loss of income. The puddle had formed when a dog chasing a cat through the store knocked over a container of water that had been set up for the store's birds to drink from. Angus was on his way out of the store and was using a mobile phone to send his friend a text message at the time when he slipped over. The staff at All About Animals clean the store twice a day, once at 9 a.m. when the store opens and again at 12 p.m. in the middle of the day. It is common for pet food and water bowls to be spilled during the course of the day as a result of animals moving throughout the store. So the question is, explain whether All About Animals is liable in the tort of negligence for Angus injuries. Please discuss all elements of a negligence action and any defenses that might apply. Please ensure you use relevant legal principles and authority in support of your answer. For example, legislation and cases. So to answer this question, we need to address the four criteria. Whether All About Animals is liable for Angus injuries. So the first criteria is to establish whether the defendant owe a duty of care towards the plaintiff. In the case Australian Safety Store versus Zaluzna, the court held that upon entrance to the land of the defendant, it establishes a relationship between which suffices to give rise to a duty of care for the defendant to take reasonable care to avoid a foreseeable risk of injury to the plaintiff. Similarly, All About Animals owes a duty of care to Angus since upon entry to the store, it establishes a relationship between two parties and the owner of the store owes a duty of care to the visitor to take reasonable care of the store to prevent injury to the visitor. Next, we have to establish whether there has been a breach of duty of care. Under the common law, there's two-step tests. The first test is the reasonable person test, where would a reasonable person in the defendant's position have foreseen their acts or omissions pose a risk of harm to the plaintiff. In the case Argo Managing Agency Proprietary Limited versus Al Khamisi, it was held that although the cleaning service failed to detect the slippery liquid, the cleaning service company employee has done due diligence in inspecting the area, and there has been no breach of duty of care, as there was no guarantee that all hazards will be removed. Similarly, as the staff at All About Animals has done due diligence in performing the clean twice a day, it was not possible to guarantee to remove all hazards, and therefore it is likely that the court will held that All About Animals have not breached the duty of care. The second limb test is that if the risk was foreseeable and it was not insignificant, Would the person in defendant's position have taken the precautions suggested by the plaintiff? The second limb is the reasonableness of the response, and there are four factors from the common law. The probability of harm would occur, like the seriousness of the harm, burden of taking precautions to avoid the harm, and social utility of activity that caused the harm. In our case, if we apply the probability of the harm will occur, and given that this is a free-roaming animal store, it is likely that these spills accidents will occur, and similar to the case of Bolton vs. Stone, where the court held that to eliminate the risk of harm is to cease the activity playing the cricket game, then all about animals would have to cease allowing animals to roam free, which is against that principle of free-roaming animals. The third step in assessing negligence criteria is that if there has been a duty of care, if there has been a breach of duty of care, has the plaintiff suffered damage? The common law requirements indicates that plaintiff must prove the damage was caused by the defendant's negligence, and the damage must not be too remote to from defendant's conduct. For example, it must be reasonably foreseeable. In our case, it is easy to show that medical expenses and loss of income damages is directly linked to the cause from the spillage at All About Animals, and the second limb is not too difficult to prove, as it would be reasonable to see that given the accident of tripping over spillage and causing leg injury, it is easy to see that medical expenses would incur and the loss of income would follow shortly due to missing out on work. Lastly, are there any defenses which are contributory negligence and voluntary assumption of risk? In the case of Alzoe versus Coptic Orthodox Church, Diocese of Sydney, St. Mary, and St. Macarius Church, the court held that the plaintiff was only awarded 50% of the damages, as the plaintiff did not take reasonable care of her own safety, as she descended down the stairs by using the handrail. Similarly, in our case, our plaintiff did not take reasonable care by looking at mobile phone whilst walking, and therefore it is likely that the court may held that the damages caused from the spillage may only be awarded 50% rather than full amount due to the lack of reasonable care for own safety. So hopefully that helped understands the law of torts. If there's any questions, please let me know down at the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.